here at Titans training camp. We got Lucas, we got Kirby. Titans are on the practice field, got some open field tackling drills going on right now. They got fans in the house for another day of work, and we're going to have Rashad Weaver come on over to the table after practice today. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion at any point if you would like to. We'd love to have you. We've got Big Machine Music City Grand Prix tickets to give away for Oh No today. Correct, bud?
That's correct. 10:45.
Oh, yes, for Oh No.
10:45.
Yeah, 10:45 is when you can get involved with that. Jackson, well, I mean, you know the drill. It's the same thing we do every Tuesday at 10:45. You tell us what in sports made you say, oh, no. We'll give you a pair of 3-day passes to the Turn 9 Club for this weekend's Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. So I don't know. I heard you were talking about this with Austin Stanley this morning in the same way that I was kind of going through last night on primetime. Did you know what kind of a day Will Levis had yesterday when we were out here doing a show at practice? I do. At about what time after we left practice yesterday did you discover that Will Levis had thrown 5 touchdown passes and we had no idea?
Yeah, probably like 1 or 2 o'clock listening to Blaine and Mickey talk about it because they got to take in pretty much the entire practice. Yeah, it's a tough spot like we're in today when the team is on the far field and we are over here on the near side, a good, I don't know, what would you say that is, 150 yards away?
I would say that's
from the
at
action.
least a football field and a half.
I actually do need to start bringing my binoculars. Like, I know that would look ridiculous sitting over here with a pair of binoculars, but honestly, that's necessary because I have no idea what's happening over there right now.
We need to do it like the Titans radio booth does it. Brad Willis is in there scouting for him, spotting for him. We're going to have Kirby, God help us, be our spotter out here when they're practicing on the third field.
My eyes work, you know.
Yeah, but not that well. I don't think you would have to have superhuman abilities to be able to correctly identify through the massive bodies. You would not only have to be able to have the vision of a hawk, Kirby, you would also be able to have to see through that wall of Carolina blue jerseys that's in front of us.
What Carolina blue jerseys is in front of us?
That's exactly right.
I do think a daily Kirby practice takeaway segment would be well received.
Oh, God help us. All right, should we do that while we're out here before polls instead of, finding – because, I mean, the last couple of days I've been looking at things to talk about before polls, and I come up with, like, Oppenheimer.
Kirby, are you down for that on your biggest practice takeaway at the end of the show?
Sure. Yeah. At the moment, it's the fact that it's 30 degrees cooler today than it was last week when we were out here at the same time.
Well, let's hope that his entertainment value is more than a weather update by the end of the show. You'll have to stick around and find out. But, yes, Will Levis apparently had a very, very nice day at practice yesterday. And, again, as Lucas said, our visibility here from the first field while they are practicing on the third field, there will be things today that happen in practice that we won't necessarily be privy to until afterwards when you'll hear the press conferences. But Will Levis was very, very effective, very efficient, particularly in red zone 7-on-7, where he threw 3 of his 5 touchdown passes throughout the course of the day. We were able to spot the Ryan Tannehill interception from our vantage point to Sean Murphy Bunting in the back of the end zone with DeAndre Hopkins as the intended receiver. But is it significant at all that he had a good practice after, I think, if anything, it is good that he had a good practice for him. And, continuing to build and develop and try and build upon stacking days, right? The thing that every coach uses, a cliche as old as time, but something that's important for them to continue to be able to progress. But with Levis, I think at this point, Don Devin. Wait! You can't just walk by here and threaten my life.
She did.
That's Dawn Davenport. Did you think the picture I took of Dawn, the side profile, was unfair yesterday while she was on the radio show?
I haven't seen this.
That's where the death threats are resulting from. It wasn't an unauthorized photo. People take unflattering pictures of me all the time and put them on the internet. It just happened to be Dawn yesterday. In fact, it was the more flattering of the unflattering pictures that I took to promote the fact that she was on our show yesterday.
People don't purposely take unflattering pictures of you. They just take pictures of you, and then you then retroactively think that they're unflattering. That's on you. That's a you problem.
That may well be. Either way, we can talk about the picture situation later on. Levis having a good day at practice, I think, is going to reinforce a lot of tinfoil hat theories that we're not covering Will Levis enough, and that he's had this kind of breakthrough in the middle of practice, and that we weren't. It was just the fact that it wasn't being covered enough. Not that it took until day 4 for him to actually have the kind of day that people are looking for him to have. Yes.
23 of 30 so far. Jim Wyatt charts these things. So he had Levis again as 6 of 7 on the day yesterday, 5 touchdowns, including tosses to Racey McMath, Reggie Roberson in team red zone periods. So, 23 of 30 so far in 7-on-7 and team periods combined in camp. But Tim Kelly talked about it this morning. Yeah, Will had a good day yesterday. Now he has to have a good day today and tomorrow and Thursday. Like, these things are deeper than having a good day when we're literally not even 7 days. I guess today marks 7 days since report day.
Yeah, since report day.
Training camp.
It's not a full week of on-field work yet. That's tomorrow.
This is the second day in pads.
So, but Lucas, tell me now if he's the future of the franchise. Yeah. Tell me now, damn it.
Yeah, and Malik Willis had a nice day too, right?
He was fine.
Ryan Tannehill, yes, the interception to Sean Murphy Bunting, but otherwise looked sharp. Mike Vrabel talked about running lanes quarterbacks were able to create. And that time he specified Tannehill and Willis. Levis not so much in that regard. So yeah, it's a long road. It's a long road. He has gotten off to a nice start.
Doesn't it feel like when we go through these things that people take whatever they see at training camp that particular day to reinforce whatever opinion they had at that particular moment, as opposed to applying it to the larger picture? It's just that you haven't been talking about Will Levis enough. Now he's had a great day at practice. Those kind of things. You haven't talked enough about Trayshawn Harris, the undrafted rookie wide receiver. He's out here making diving catches. These kind of things. Like, I think a lot of times there's just people are so thirsty for football. And this is the closest thing to actual football that we have in front of us, that you try and apply some wholesale assessments to it where they may not necessarily matter just yet. But it is good for Will Levis to be making that progress. He's still third on the depth chart, and he can get days like that. If he continues to have days like that, then you can have a legitimate conversation about him pushing Malik Willis for the backup quarterback job.
And
but
games
that's the
like
starting
that.
point.
Games like that, preseason
games
quarters.
like that.
I mean, that's where most of the eyeballs are going to be. Like, yes, people jump to conclusions after one padded practice where Levis is throwing darts all over the place, but that all gets erased with one bad quarter in a preseason game, right? Like, these opinions are going to evolve over the course of training camp. It's a big picture thing, not a zooming in on one practice thing.
So, Mike Vrabel was asked about the competition between Malik Willis and Will Levis yesterday at the press conference. For those of you who were listening during the noon hour, you might have heard it as we carried it live, but in case you missed it, he was asked specifically about how much he's enjoying from his vantage point watching these two young passers compete.
Well, yeah. I think it's been great. I think it's been great. I think that they, all push each other, and again, you see them getting excited for each other, and you're allowed to do that and still compete and still want to try to win the competition. So I think they both have done some really good things. There's some plays that both of them would like to have back. Again, one day isn't going to make or break anything, but hopefully we can come back tomorrow without a script and put the ball down and see how they function and operate and move through the different situations that we give them tomorrow, and see how they lead their unit, whether it's the second group or the third group, and they'll both have opportunities with each of those different groups. So I like where both of them are at. I guess it's nice to have two young guys here that you can develop and work with.
Now, what did you take away from that? Because there's a word that he said specifically that jumped out to me that I think is going to change the way that I'm going to talk about these guys for the remainder of camp. Probably going to change the way that I talk about players at any position throughout the course of while we do these training camp shows. Is there one word in particular that you noticed that jumped out to you?
One word.
One word from that answer about the quarterback competition. You're looking at the transcript.
Looking at the transcript now. I mean, honestly, my biggest takeaway was what he tagged it with there at the end. It's good to have two young quarterbacks in here, because the Titans haven't had that as far as two guys kind of pushing each other in that way that are in similar stages of development as far as first-year pro versus second-year pro, where last year you had Logan Woodside, right, who has fought off contender after contender for the quarterback spot and now is going up against a rookie, but you're all watching. You're monitoring Malik Willis's development last year, not Logan Woodside's. This year it's different because those guys are kind of pushing each other and trying to figure out at the end of camp who's in a better position to back up Ryan Tannehill as the starter, and you haven't had that yet. That was my biggest takeaway. But as far as one word, no, I'd be interested to see what you took away.
Situationally. Situationally is the thing that I want to pay closer attention to more than anything as we continue with the utmost professionalism to broadcast here from Titans training camp. I think situationally is the way that, we're talking about completion percentage in a variety of different drills, right? And Jimmy is doing well to track those things. People care about those things. It's being cited across, anywhere where Will Levis or Ryan Tannehill is being discussed, right? Well, he's completed X amount of passes and thrown X amount of touchdowns against X amount of interceptions.
And,
right?
and Willis, by the way, 5 of 9 yesterday, 21 of 35 so far in camp. There have not been complaints so far about Malik Willis. Like, if Will Levis was not drafted by the Tennessee Titans last year, we'd probably be talking about Malik Willis from yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Malik looks miles better at the start of training camp now than he did last year, which is to be expected. You have a whole year of development under your belt.
But I think situationally is the thing that I know how to watch practice situationally. I know that they structure practice situationally, where they're working first down and second down on one day. They're doing third down on another. On another day they did, high red zone yesterday. They'll do low red zone maybe later in practice today. Situationally is the way that I think that for our purposes and for the audience's purposes, these things are best broken down. Not that all you can't take in is everything that's being provided to you from an information standpoint and make whatever assessments that you want to make. But understand that the practice is structured in a way that allows these guys to perform in different situations. Situational football. When you say situational football, a lot of people are reminded of the stadium. Were you around in 2018? Were you working at the Zone in 2018, Mike Vrabel's first year?
Would have been right before I got to the Zone.
Okay, he had a practice at Nissan Stadium. It's the one that they opened Nissan Stadium.
Yeah, didn't it get rained out?
No. Worse. It was, the hottest day that I can remember beyond that Colts game where the field caught on fire. It was unbelievably bad, and they did things like run, the Hail Mary drill, situational football, like half speed, no pads. It was a really, really bad deal. So I think when people hear situational football, stuff like that comes to mind. Understand that there's a lot better way that this can be broken down, and we'll endeavor to do so for you over the next couple of weeks while we're out here at Titans training camp practice. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. Remember, at 10:45, we're going to give away a pair of 3-day tickets to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Let's talk about who's going to have a bigger role in this year's offense, Chickaquo or Traylon Burks. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, August 4th through the 6th. It's coming up this weekend at Nissan Stadium, and it's going to be absolutely electric. You can get your tickets, single-day tickets, 3-day passes, or premium hospitality at MusicCityGP.com. It's all-inclusive at the Turn 9 Club with food from Edley's Barbecue, Poncho and Lefty's, beer and wine, and non-alcoholic beverages. It's going to be an electric event, not just the races, but the concerts, the family fun zones, so many great opportunities for you to take the entire family and enjoy yourselves in downtown Nashville. Don't miss the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. MusicCityGP.com is where you go. Welcome back here from Titans training camp on 104.5 The Zone. Buck Rising hanging out here with you. Going to have Titans outside linebacker Rashad Weaver sit down with us after practice today. Nate Bain from Titan Social just texted me and asked if we wanted Mike Chandler on the show. I said, sure, why not? We're not doing anything of tremendous importance, though we'll find a way to give away those Big Machine Music City Grand Prix tickets a little later on. At this point, though, Chig or Burks, as to the level of importance to this offense and as how they're going to be utilized, that's the question that we had posed yesterday via the polls. You can vote on them at Buck Rising on, I mean, I'm still saying Twitter, right? Twitter still says Twitter.
It's Twitter.
Every time I open the app, it still says Twitter, even though the logo says X.
Does it say? It says X for me. Nothing on here says, like, even when you try to retweet something, the option is to repost. Like it's Twitter. I don't care.
So we'll see. I think Mike Chandler might sit down with us in this segment, so we'll kind of keep things fluid. And if we have to circle back around to the Burks or Chig conversation, Chig was on the radio show yesterday. You can get that full interview via the podcast or on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel. And I asked him, just honestly, how much bigger of a difference is it for you this time of year now versus your rookie season? This was Chig Okonkwo yesterday.
Height of rookie anxiety.
I got to imagine there's a few points that probably come to mind throughout the course of a season, given how much longer it is from college to pro.
Man, I can't even remember. I think
it just blacked out.
Probably like the first part of the year, man. Like when you first go into the game for the first time, and like you're first in the huddle and you're first hearing the play. It's like in your mind, it's like, what if I forget every play? It's like,
every play I've ever known.
Every play that we practiced for the past 3 months. What if I just forgot everything? But then you just calm down and you go out there and play. But yeah.
So that was Chig Okonkwo speaking yesterday about where he's at and the idea of just kind of forgetting plays or fearing that he was going to forget plays in the middle of things like this as a rookie, and understanding at a certain point, I think he told us about week 5 or 6, the Commanders or the Colts, where he started to feel like, I can run with these dudes, I can play with these dudes. This is where I'm supposed to be. Now for Burks, we've talked about the level of confidence and how much better, how much physically better he's able to perform, how much better he's holding up, how much better he looks, how much more confidence he's carrying himself with. He's pulling guys over the side after reps and like walking them through it. Now, year 2 for a first-round pick, those are the kind of things that you like. But if you'd have ran into that person last year and understood the kind of personality and how he projects and seen this guy out on the field, it's like two different people, basically. Still, mild-mannered, soft-spoken for the most part. But like just the way that he's carrying himself, there's a noticeable difference, to me anyway. Now, in terms of the role on the offense, I think the idea that Chig would have a bigger part to play this year makes all the sense in the world, but I feel like that might sound counterintuitive to a lot of people listening to the show.
Well, who will be on the field more?
I would venture a guess to say Chig. And that's not because – now, again, health notwithstanding, whatever the case may be, and as you talk about the different things for the Titans offense, you understand that, Kirby, I'm asking you to move the camera if you would be so kind before Mike Chandler sits down with us.
I was just going to sit here and enjoy watching you try to do sign language.
Yeah, you try from time to time. But honestly, when you look at Chig and Treylon Burks and all the different things that they're going to provide, it's entirely possible that Treylon Burks is going to end up being on the field less than Chig Okonkwo would within this offense. So we'll circle back to that conversation here in a little bit. Mike Chandler just walked up to the tent, and we're very pleased to have him on throughout at some point here in just a little bit. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation.
Lively out there today.
Yeah, a lot of people out here hanging out at Titans training camp.
No, I'm talking about practice.
Practice in terms of what?
Azeez Al-Shaair mixing it up, tackling Treylon Burks for a loss. This is per Sam Phelan of A to Z Sports. Got flagged for taunting, and then on the next play, Azeez drops Tyjae Spears for a loss, knocks the ball out, defense recovers, and Azeez is fired up.
Okay, well we'll get Mike's practice observations over here from St. Thomas Sports Park. Kirby, we good? Okay, let's go ahead. Whenever Mike's ready, we'll have him sit down with us here at the practice facility. Mike, pleasure to have you over, big dog. We appreciate you sitting down with us.
Hey, Mike.
So you guys are out here at the practice field. You got the whole family enjoying taking in the sights and sounds. What have you made of is this first day for you out on the practice field this season?
This is the first time I've ever been here. Myself, my son Hap, just got a cool little tour of all the facilities.
Yeah.
Checked out all the new Oilers jerseys. Come on, baby.
Well,
come on, baby.
Your boy Nate Bain just walked one over here
Look
to
at
us, as a matter of fact.
Look at that,
We haven't
dude.
shown the audience yet.
More beautiful in
on
person.
TV.
Look
Yes.
at that. Is beautiful,
That's
man.
pretty nice.
I
now
know.
you have to have. I mean, I assume you got one too. Or
Well,
do we need?
I
Nate,
probably
did
need
you
to get
Mike
one. I don't
Chandler a jersey?
know. We got Hap a jersey, man. He's looking like a stud over here.
Absolutely.
You know? This is part of his tryout.
Yeah.
Trying to get him on the Titans here in the next 15 years
What
or so.
position are we thinking?
We actually don't know. Yeah, he actually is starting flag football tomorrow night. Is his
Awesome.
first practice, so he's gonna get a lay of the land, see what he likes, offense, defense. He's gonna be a little bit taller than me. He's gonna pass me up like next year, so it's good. He's gonna have the size for it.
He'd come in for NWI spot with that number.
Yeah, exactly right. That was just his number, his favorite number. So we're like, okay, we'll do 15.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so what most excites you about the coming football season? Obviously, you are incredibly busy right now. You've just gone through everything with the Ultimate Fighter and everything that entails, and along with the sideshow that is the preparation for what might or might not happen, it sounds like, in the near future. But what most excites you about getting out here on the practice field and seeing the guys at work?
Man, it's just cool. I mean, obviously being a lifelong athlete, and now instilling athletics and having a coach and having an offense and a defense and the disciplines and all these different things. Obviously I've been doing this athletics since I was a 14-year-old, basically dedicated my life to athletics. So to see these guys doing it at the highest level, obviously I've been a fan ever since I moved here to Nashville. So I was a St. Louis Rams fan forever because I was from St. Louis. Then they moved to L.A. the same year I moved here. And I said, okay, well, uprooting my fandom, planting my roots right here in the most beautiful city in the world, Nashville, Tennessee, and obviously following the Titans every single season now. New signings we got this year that everybody is pumped up about, and it's really cool to see these guys out here getting after it.
As somebody who operates at the highest level of athletics, like to have somebody like DeAndre Hopkins joining this team at this particular time, like the significance of that, can you as somebody who understands that level of competition for the audience, the kind of juice that just adds to a team or a competitor, the way that it basically lifts all tides?
Absolutely, yeah. Every sport, whether it's an individual sport like mine or a team sport like football, and every sport in between, it's about momentum. It's about camaraderie and community, and obviously the culture that we've built over these last couple of years as the Tennessee Titans fans and as the Tennessee Titans as an organization, getting a guy like Hopkins coming in, some other great signings, new signings, is just giving guys that little extra buzz, that little extra, hey, last year was great, but hey, this year we got a little extra wrinkle, little more tools, more things to work with. Plus, I think it just raises the elevation of the entire city and the entire community. So it's cool.
Mike Chandler hanging out here with us on 104.5 The Zone, live from Titans practice. He and his family taking in the sights and sounds today. For you, after having done this as long as you have in your respective sport, and how do you kind of maintain that level of competitive fire, for lack of a better term? You've seen a variety of different competitors. You've beaten a variety of different people. You've had all the different adversity throughout the course of your career that you've faced that's gotten you to this point. How do you continue to maintain that level?
Man, I think for me, it always comes back to gratitude. I think when I first got into the sport, it was all about me and trying to win belts and trying to win fights and trying to get my hand raised and then trying to make more money and be under the bright lights and all these different extrinsic things. But the intrinsic value, the intrinsic reward and gift that I get every single day, for me to look down and say I got two capable arms and two capable legs, that God has given me these great gifts, and I wake up every single morning, and for me not to go pursue the best version of myself inside the gym, inside the training facilities, and outside, then I'm really sacrificing those gifts, and watching, a sport like football, which is definitely tough. I mean, there's roster cuts and there's new guys coming in and free agents and contract disputes and all of these different things. You never know when your last play or whenever your next play could be your last, just similar to me. My next workout, my next training, my next fight could be my last. So realizing that since I am on the other side of 40, I'm definitely closer to, a veteran than I was a spring chicken at the very beginning, realizing that every single day is a gift, and me being able to do what I've been doing competing at a high level for 14 years, fighting for world titles, winning world titles, being ranked number 5 in the world it's a huge blessing. So just being grateful for the opportunity I have every single day. And, it's not just, and that's not just in athletics. That's anybody listening right now who is going through any vocation, any career path, anything that they're trying to pursue, pulling it back to gratitude and being grateful for their why and why they're doing what they're doing. And that's how I've been able to operate over these last 15 years.
You were out there watching practice. You've been out here all morning. Lively out there, a lot of chatter, pretty physical. Is there any Titans player that in another life you think could have made a career in the UFC MMA world?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, everyone's going to default to Derrick Henry. You look at Derrick Henry, the way he runs through people, the way he runs over people in that physical nature. Obviously, he's always going to be the first one that comes to people's minds. But I'm friends with Roos and Corey Levin. Those dudes, the way that they get after it whenever they're smashing people, man, it's just it's so cool to watch these guys because every single play, every single time they get into the huddle and that ball gets snapped, it's like another short little fight. There's a fight going on every single play, every single down throughout 4 quarters. So that's why I love the sport. Obviously it's a little bit different than mine. It takes a lot more, athleticism and movement and speed and all those different things. I mean, obviously we need that, but it's fighting in a phone booth a lot of times. So, yeah, I'd say those 3 guys for sure, but definitely the size of Derrick Henry compared to what you would expect from a running back. Yeah, anybody. And I just saw Simmons over there too. I think someone said he's 340 pounds.
No, Jeff's not quite that big. He
390 pounds.
400. He gets bigger every time I see him. To be honest.
No, but yeah,
he's clocked in at 6'4", 305.
305. Okay, yeah. Maybe 340 in the offseason. He slims down a little bit, but I mean, just a massive human being. And you go and you see him. You're like, okay, these guys don't look that big when you're looking at him from 50 yards away. And then you get up close to him, you're like, holy, that's a mountain of a man.
Yeah, but Vrabel thinks he can take them all. Like, have you talked to Mike yet? I assume you've met Mike Vrabel at some point. Has he tried to alpha you the way that he tries to alpha literally everybody else in his entire life?
No, he actually didn't. Now, we had some mutual friends, and that's how we kind of first came into contact. And he was very nice, very nice, and didn't try to alpha me. But that's why I think Vrabel coming here and his mentality and the coolest thing about him is he's been there, he's done that. You can pull up the highlight tapes, you can watch the way he played, the passion that he played with, the leader that he was as a player, and now the leader that he is as the head coach of the team. And I think since he has come to here, the Tennessee Titans, it's definitely leveled everybody up. Me having numerous friends on the team, everyone speaks very highly of him because how can you not? Even if you disagree with him, he's been there and he's done that. Even if you don't like him one day, it don't matter. We all go through that as athletes. We have our coaches and our days where we're like, oh man, I don't want to do this. Coach, I disagree. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter. I've been there. I've done that. I got the T-shirt, got the ring, so it's cool.
Now, you're not just – obviously you've got a variety of different interests on top of what it is that you've continued to pursue throughout the course of your UFC career, but you've been in our space as of late, it seems, with the interview series that you're doing. What can you tell the audience about the podcast and what I guess your goal with that has been?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I just, once again, going back to gratitude, realizing that I've been given a lot of great physical gifts, and with those physical gifts, I've been able to go through a lot of ups and a lot of downs, and I think there's a lot of wisdom that comes with, and a lot of similarities that come with athletics and just pursuing the best version of yourself. So I built a studio in my backyard. It's all soundproof. We got all the equipment. I got a media director. We built a team where we can hop on YouTube. We can do live shows. We can do, we just broke down 4 or 5 fights from this last weekend, UFC 291. Obviously, we got fights coming up this weekend that me and my family's going to be in attendance at that we will then break down. So just bringing people value. That's why mixed martial arts is a sport, but it's a metaphor for life, and that's why I just feel so grateful for what I get to do when people watch it, and when they see us fighting, they see us get our hand raised at our greatest moment of opportunity, or they see us at our darkest hour when we get knocked out and got blood pouring out of our face. It's a metaphor for all the struggles that everybody's going through. So I just think I've been able to experience a life that can give a lot of people wisdom and kind of look through the looking glass of what I have seen, what I have done, what I've gone through, to be able to inspire and instill greatness into people through audio waves, through video on YouTube, and it's been a lot of fun, but a lot of journey.
You've got that. We've got Kirby.
Yeah,
that's my inspiration
exactly.
every day.
See, everyone needs a Kirby, baby.
Mike Chandler hanging out with us here on 104.5 The Zone. So I'd be remiss. The YouTube chat has been exploding. They're demanding that we ask you questions about McGregor. Is there any update that you can give for people on that situation?
Not a crazy definitive, I guess, update, but talks are being had behind the scenes. Talks are being had on my phone today. So everything is moving forward. I'm fighting him. Can't give you a date yet. Can't give you a weight class. But the fight between me and him is it's been something that has been building. You know, obviously we have the Ultimate Fighter every week on ESPN. Team Chandler versus Team McGregor. Team Chandler is absolutely mollywhopping him. So it's building some tension.
I mean, it's not been close.
No, it hasn't really been close. You know, and that's not necessarily an indictment on his coaching style necessarily. I think, you know, sometimes the sport of mixed martial arts is happenstance and it's luck and it's a little bit of, you know, favor here and there. So you never know how things are going to go. But Team Chandler's are doing well, and me and Connor, we're hoping to fight by the end of the year. It'll probably be more closer to the beginning of next year, but there's still a chance we fight by the end of the year. So
you can catch up on all those episodes on demand on ESPN Plus to check out what Team Chandler and Team McGregor are doing in the Ultimate Fighter. Mike, we appreciate you stopping by. We'll let you get back to enjoying your day. Continued health and success, and enjoy football practice.
Yes, sir. You guys too, man. Appreciate y'all. See you at the top.
That's Mike Chandler there with us on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. We'll get to your phone calls on what in sports made you say, oh no, coming up next. Live from Titans training camp here on 104.5 The Zone. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It was good to see Mike Chandler stop by. Check out The Ultimate Fighter on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's a really, really fun show. Mike obviously having a local tie in it gets I think people in Middle Tennessee involved, and the intrigue around him fighting potentially. I mean, it seems like that's not in dispute, him fighting McGregor, but they've had some trouble getting the date on the books. So keep an eye out for that, and check it out on ESPN Plus on demand. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. What in sports made you say, "Oh no"? We can do that right now. Go ahead, Jackson.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, no.
Oh yeah!
All right, for your opportunity to win a pair of 3-day Turn 9 Club passes for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix coming up this weekend, August 4th through the 6th. It's all inclusive. Free food, free beer and wine, and non-alcoholic beverages. Access to the Indy car paddock to get up close and personal with the cars, and an incredible spot for you to hang out indoors with access to televisions and air conditioning right on Turn 9, the Turn 9 Club for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. If you don't win tickets now, MusicCityGP.com is where you go to pick yours up today. So we talked about a former Tennessee volunteer showing out in camp yesterday with Jalen Hyatt, and the videos coming out of him, or coming out of Giants camp of him making a couple plays on the ball, running faster than apparently any wide receiver in training camp so far this year. Well, I don't know if Darnell Wright has been tracked as being faster than any offensive lineman in training camp this year, but apparently he had a bit of an oh-no himself. Did you read this story on Pro Football Talk? The idea that this man has been preparing himself for the Bears conditioning test, but he was not aware which conditioning test he was specifically set to take, nor the fact that there was a differentiation between the wide receivers conditioning test and the offensive line conditioning test. One would assume that those standards that they hold wide receivers to slightly higher than that of the offensive line. Well, nobody told Darnell Wright this, and so instead of training for the offensive line conditioning test, he trained for the wide receiver one, and apparently blew all the testing metrics out of the water for any Bears offensive lineman ever. So ultimately a good result for Darnell Wright, but I'm sure the lead-up for that was deeply unpleasant for the 300-plus pound right tackle of the Bears.
I truly don't know what to think of this.
Yeah.
This is hilarious. It's also incredibly impressive that Darnell Wright, a giant human being, was able to what I want to know is, did he get above the benchmark required for a wide receiver? Like, we know that just training for a wide receiver conditioning test will lead you to absolutely obliterate the offensive line but I really want to know if he passed the wide receiver. That's what we need to find out. We need some journalism done in Chicago to find out if he actually would have passed the wide receiver version of the conditioning test.
Yeah, they didn't specify, nor did they test him against their wide receivers, apparently, I assume, just to maintain the confidence of the wide receiver core.
Man is 6'6", 330 pounds. Like, I want to know if a man of that stature passed an NFL wide receiver conditioning test.
Do you think he saw, he had to have seen, the numbers on, because I don't know what all is involved. Like, for example, I don't know all the different testing things that they're doing for the Titans conditioning test. I know that there is a degree of running that's involved. That's about the extent of my knowledge. But, do you think there's numbers, speed metrics that he has to hit? And he probably saw his times, and he knows what the wide receivers are running. It's like, damn, and I just spent all this time. I thought I was moving. I'm in the best shape I've ever been. I'm moving faster than I've ever had to in my entire life.
I mean, how do you even process that as a coach? Are you do you love it? Do you love that he's probably the most in shape offensive lineman in the National Football League now, or are you slightly concerned because this man has to learn an entire playbook with your football team as probably the starting right tackle that he couldn't differentiate between conditioning tests? This is a tough one for me.
Well, I would think that if you're the offensive line, if you're the coaching staff of the Bears, you're probably it's one of those things that if you're going to make a mistake, literally make it at 100 miles an hour. The way that's literally, he's probably not moving 100 miles an hour, but he's moving pretty fast for a big man. That's my oh no this week.
My oh no of the sports weekend, Sean Payton, who's been out of the league for a while. He's back, and at this point, you've probably seen the comments that Sean Payton made on Nathaniel Hackett in the 2022 Denver Broncos, basically telling, I believe he was speaking with Sports Illustrated, talking about doing everything the opposite of what they did last year, that the 2022 Denver Broncos was one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history.
USA Today.
USA Today, thank you. Those were Sean Payton's comments about the job that Nathaniel Hackett and his staff did with the Denver Broncos before getting fired. Hackett didn't even make it the entire regular season in his first year with Denver before he got the axe. It was still surprising, though, to see a guy like Sean Payton make those comments. And now he's had to walk them back a little bit. He has said he regrets making those comments. He's not talking about it anymore. And it's given some fuel for Aaron Rodgers to kind of galvanize his New York Jets team. This was Aaron Rodgers on NFL Network talking to Peter Schrager about Sean Payton's comments.
Yeah, I love Nathaniel Hackett, and those comments were very surprising. For a coach to do that to another coach. My love for Hack goes deep. You know, we had some great years together in Green Bay, kept in touch. Love him and his family. He's an incredible family man, incredible dad. And on the field, you know, he's arguably my favorite coach I've ever had in the NFL. Just his approach to it, how he makes it fun, how he cares about the guys, just how he goes about his business with respect, with leadership, with honesty, with integrity. And it made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for that team this year. Thought it was way out of line and inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
Keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
What is he, Will Smith? Is he about to smack Sean Payton across the face?
I truly was surprised that Sean Payton was like, this is not a guy that's coming into the league and trying to say brash things and get people's attention.
The man just spent a year on television being a commentator. Of course he's going to mouth off.
I mean, this is a Super Bowl champion. This is a guy who's been in the league for a long time. I was surprised to see him go at a fellow coach in that way. And all it really did was lead me to look more at what Aaron Rodgers has been doing in New York and kind of think that we are getting a very re-energized Aaron Rodgers right now with the New York Jets. And Packers fans have to be like, hey, man, where's this been for the last 2 years? You take a $30 million plus pay cut for this team to be able to add to it around you to give you a better chance to win. Kind of makes you think he's in it for more than just the 1 year like we thought might be possible. I'm seeing clips coming out from Hard Knocks where the way that he's talking to this team. Aaron Rodgers looks to be all in with this new stint with the New York Jets, which is not really the Aaron Rodgers that we've gotten the last couple of years.
No, blah, 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 blah. This is a guy that has a history of sniping his own organization. And now he's going to talk about a coach he's never played for.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't care now. Kirby, he literally just gave the Green Bay Packers double middle fingers by restructuring his contract. He doesn't care.
Oh, he's never cared. It was all about Aaron. So
it's the best.
Blah, blah, blah.
No, this is exactly what I want from Aaron Rodgers. This is why the league wanted him on Hard Knocks, and the fact that Sean Payton is just out here starting fights for no particular reason. Is going to make a Jets-Broncos game that probably wasn't terribly appealing in Week 5 a hell of a lot more interesting.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of fights.
At this point.
Slight dust-up on the far practice field.
Is it a Jack Del Rio dust-up, or is it a slight dust-up? What kind of dust-up we talking here?
Oh, a confrontation between Jamarco Jones and Jeffrey Simmons
good.
Had them working in the sandpit.
Mike Vrabel literally yesterday said, don't do dumb bleep to hurt the team. And you got Jamarco Jones out here smacking dudes around for what reason again?
I feel like people process that differently, though, because I feel like people like to see that energy and juice from their teams.
Sure, because it's football practice and ladder drills are boring. Of course you want to see the offensive lineman slap the holy hell out of somebody.
But just from a mentality perspective, right, just the tenacity of the confrontation that takes place when you're getting ready for a football season. But at the same time, you understand practicing like you play, like Vrabel was talking about yesterday, you probably want to avoid it.
Yeah, so I'm sure that'll come up later. Did Jamarco Jones, apparently they get banished to the sandpit now? Is somebody standing over there at the sandpit?
Yeah, you don't just get kicked out, which I get, right? Like you
have to go.
So
you have to go do
off
conditioning drills in the sandpit now
instead of just getting the day off.
Well, because they used to just get sent inside, and they're like, sure, it's 100 degrees.
No
out
problem.
Here.
Yeah.
What in sports made you say, oh no, this week? 615-737-1045 for your opportunity to win 2 3-day passes for the Turn 9 Club at the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. That's all-inclusive food and beverage, non-alcoholic drinks, beer and wine. Let's go to Tyler in Mount Juliet up first. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing today?
Great.
All right. My oh no quote, it comes from the 12U Baseball World Cup that's currently going on, where Team USA absolutely destroyed their previous record of 29 runs in a game by beating Team New Zealand on Saturday
Goodness.
by 43-1.
No!
I'm surprised we're not at war with
With New Zealand, what are they going to do? Like send a flock of sheeps onto a ship towards the U.S.? Like, did I say sheeps?
Those are words you were very, very brave to say in consecutive.
A flock of sheep?
No, the sheeps and ships on the radio.
Ships.
Don't get too close, bud.
The plural of sheep is sheep.
Okay.
That was bad grammar by me.
Either way, it's not
yeah.
what I was alluding to. Your bad grammar.
He said 43-1.
No, 43 runs in a 12.
My 43-1. I'm glad the boys were able to pull that one out. Sounds like it got dicey for a second.
Oh my goodness, that is disrespectful as all hell. All right, that's a strong candidate to start these out with. 615-737-1045. We'll get more of your phone calls on this for the opportunity to win some Big Machine Music City Grand Prix Turn 9 Club passes. We're broadcasting live out here at Titans Training Camp. It's going to wrap up at about 11:15 today. Rashad Weaver, outside linebacker, is going to come over here and sit down with us at the tent. We'll talk to Dream Weaver about everything that he's been going through in year 3 already for that man. Second hour on the way. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you get back up and running again if you're starting to get up there in age. As you do, your body starts to change. It's natural for a lot of guys, and the Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you get right. They have 2 locations, one in downtown Nashville, their newest offices in Cool Springs, and they have a variety of different options to help you treat the things that you need to, whether that's ED or any other thing that is related to your performance. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is the spot to be. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com is where you find out more information about all the different treatment options that they have and all the different things that they can help you with as you get up there in age. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
It is 11:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica, live from Titans training camp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, where rookie quarterback Will Levis grabbed some headlines as the team hit the practice field in pads for the first time. Mike Vrabel was asked about the work that Levis got in on Monday.
I thought there were some good balls. I thought there were some good decisions down in the red zone. I thought he delivered the ball with some accuracy, tried to push it down the field, and work the concepts that we had going in today just in the red zone. So take it day by day. There's going to be some good days. There's going to be some bad days, and learn from them and keep progressing.
More good work from Levis today out at practice with back-to-back touchdown passes to Reggie Roberson and Mason Kinsey. Around the NFL, Broncos wide receiver Tim Patrick will miss the 2023 season after tearing his Achilles at practice on Monday. It's the second consecutive season missed by Patrick. He tore his ACL before the start of the 2022 season. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once and your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour live from Titans training camp. Welcome into Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, where we're hanging out doing the radio show again today. Practice still ongoing. We expect them to wrap up at about 11:15. People are lining up. I assume autographs are going to take place in front of us. Rashad Weaver's going to come over and sit down with us. We'll talk about what the third-year edge rusher is improving upon in this year's training camp. We had really good conversations with Rand Carthon, Tajay Sharp, Chigakonkwo, Sean Murphy-Bunting as we continue our training camp coverage here live on site. We got Lucas, we got Kirby, we got your phone calls. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We'd love to have you. We'll continue to do them for the thing in sports that made you say, oh, no, this week throughout the course of the show. Worth noting, we talked about Jamarco Jones earlier, asked to leave practice but not go into the facility, banished to the sand pit, is the report at this point for starting a fight on the field. Mike Vrabel speaking about starting fights on the field literally yesterday with us at the press conference post-practice. This was the Titans head coach.
I think it's, that's dumb dish that hurts the team. You get thrown out of a game, and so you throw a punch in the game, they're going to throw you out of the game. New York's going to review it, and they're going to remove you from the game. So we might as well practice those things now, and try to make it an emphasis that go as hard as you want. Don't throw a punch. Don't be the second guy. They're going to see the second guy retaliate and be a 15-yard penalty. So you might as well practice the way we're hopefully going to play.
Might as well practice the way that hopefully you're going to play. That was Mike Vrabel's message literally yesterday at the podium, and there it is again. So I asked Chig yesterday when he sat down with us. I think you were over here. Is there somebody who's talking as much crap as Arden Key and Jeff Simmons on the offense? And he said, we're too busy trying to communicate with one another. We got things we got to learn. We got play calls we got to get into. We got things we got to execute. They just have to get off the ball and come after the quarterback, right? But Jamarco Jones appears to be that person, except instead of doing all the things that he's supposed to be doing pre and post snap, he's getting into skirmishes on the field at this point. He's consistently an offender. He is the person who is getting the bulk of the reps at right tackle right now. If he can't control his temper for a team that dealt with a lot more penalties than they have in the last couple of years, like this is a thing. Or at least it was with last year's Titans team. And when you talk about things that you carry over from one season to the next and things that you don't, I mean, discipline is not necessarily something that I would say, because last year's team was more undisciplined in terms of the rate that they were penalized at.
It was an outlier in the Vrabel era.
It has been an outlier to this point, but again, this is the kind of stuff that he's talking about. Practice the way that you're going to play. Just don't swing at somebody. Like if you're pissed, be pissed, but don't swing at somebody in the middle of a play in a way or after the fact that's going to get you a penalty for 15 yards.
So the
It's
Titans,
just stupid.
The Titans cost themselves 956 total yards last year in penalties, which was second worst in the league, behind only the Denver Broncos, which, as Sean Payton would tell you, is not good company to be in from the 2022 season. They have
everything that we're doing last year, we're going to do the opposite of this year.
Yeah, 19 of those 111 penalties were offensive holding.
Oh.
So at some point, and that was, what is that, top sixth worst
it's
in
bad.
the NFL. So
it's bad.
Yeah, at some point you have to balance loving the fiery, I guess, edgy nature of confrontation at training camp and sticking up for teammates and whatnot, but also you do not want that to come at the cost of 15-yard penalties on your offensive line.
We were kind of talking about this yesterday because I don't know if you've seen these questions that Vrabel and Derrick Henry have been asked lately about how many 5-year-olds would it take to tackle Derrick Henry.
Yes.
And Vrabel's response was, well, it's a question of how many lives would be lost, not how many 5-year-olds it would take to stop Derrick Henry in this moment.
He said 35.
He said 35 5-year-olds it would take. I don't think so.
You think more?
I've seen that dude hit grown men really, really hard.
It depends how they approach it. I think 10 kids on one leg, 10 kids grabbing onto another leg, and then another 10 just kind of climbing at his back and just grabbing his hair.
Yeah,
you're going to have to, figure out some ways to do this that are not by the book.
Right, but here's the thing. It's like, so the idea of asking football players to not do football but kind of do football. Like, you remember when A.J. Dillon went up against that minor league baseball mascot?
Yeah, it just blew him up.
And all but ended his life. Yeah. This is like Jamarco Jones. It's like, okay, he's doing football. You want to tell him to not do football up to a certain point? But that's the whole thing. Like, play to the whistle. You hear the whistle, you stop. You have to have that presence of mind. You have to have just a degree of discipline. Because last year they were a bad football team. They were a hurt football team. And if they're a dumb football team, it's going to compound all of those different things. And I know it's a small, we're drawing a larger conclusion from a small instance out here today, but that's not the way that they can operate, and Mike Vrabel knows that.
Kirby, do you think 35 was the appropriate number there?
Yeah, I think 35
5-year-olds.
And the bus driver driving the school bus that hits him might bring him down.
So it's going to take a school bus. So if they're in the school bus, then okay.
Yeah, okay. So pile the kids in the bus and then just maybe that would work. Maybe that would tackle Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's a hell of an oh-no. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. Back to the phones. Let's go to Bobby in Nashville next. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, my oh-no in sports this week is the U.S. women's soccer team watching the Netherlands blow out Vietnam 5-0.
Lucas.
I guess that could be an oh-no, but I'm not sure what you're Bobby, I mean, the U.S. beat Vietnam 3-0, and it could have been more. A penalty was missed. They had chances they didn't capitalize on, which has been an issue so far at the Women's World Cup. But I think more of the oh-no would be last night, scoreless draw to close out the group stage. The U.S. just sneaking into the knockout rounds is not really up to their standard, which is an insanely lofty one. But yeah, I think there is some concern around that for sure.
Do you think that the time difference, the time zones on this are the reason that there's not more discussion around the women's national team?
Yeah, I mean, they were playing at 3 a.m. last night.
Well, and what is Fox doing telling me that it starts at 1 a.m. when that's just when their pregame coverage starts?
Fox is notorious for
this.
Get
out of here.
Notorious.
Do not tell me that the game starts at 1 a.m. just because your pregame coverage does.
It is, yes. That is a problem. I don't know if Fox does that as much when it comes to college football in the NFL, but with their soccer coverage,
awful.
They're trying to get you in there a good 120 minutes before kickoff. No, just tell me when the game starts. No, yes, but there's a little bit of concern around the women so far. Not as dominant as we are used to.
Foster and Smyrna's next.
All right, guys. Before I give you my oh no, Buck, my bad for tweeting you yesterday. That was just a long car ride in the driveway on hold. But my uh-oh moment of the week has got to be the Jim Irsay, Jonathan Taylor conversation as a Titans fan. Yeah. And in one side of it, it's great that, the best player on the Colts is now a pariah, and, that's great for us. But the other side of that is Jim Irsay's comment about, I could die tonight, you could die tonight, and nobody would remember us. That is billboard material for this running back movement. And that does have big implications for us being that one of the centerpieces of our team is Derrick Henry, who is one of the faces of the running backs, adequate pay movement. And so as nice as it is that the Colts, are down one of their star players right now, it's risky for us, moving forward in the future of, Derrick Henry on this team and, the running back position as a whole.
Thanks for the call. I'm sure there's not a happier group of people that the Colts appear to be imploding in the offseason than the collection of group of people that's standing in front of me and Titans fans.
By the way, they have signed undrafted free agent running back Toriano Clinton out of the University of Indianapolis.
So they literally just went down the road and was like, hey, you play running back? Come play for the Colts.
Kept it in-house.
That's wild. So Zach Moss breaks his arm yesterday at practice. Jonathan Taylor has basically been told to kick rocks. And now running backs who are trying to take a stance in this particular situation for being paid what they think is their value when the NFL and the marketplace is very much telling them, no, you're not nearly as valuable as you think you are. We talked about this yesterday, I think, at the end of the show, right? The idea that Indy now becomes the case study. Okay, how disposable are running backs? If Jonathan Taylor is not going to be out there in the middle of a contract dispute, if Zach Moss, their backup for Jonathan Taylor, has already, theoretically been lost for at least, I don't know if it's a year, but for a period of time.
6 weeks minimum is what they said.
So if that's the kind of place that we're going to be in, Indy is going to get the first kind of taste of, all right, how deep can you go on your running back depth chart before you actually need a player who's worth the kind of value that they think they are. Jonathan Taylor is in a contract year. He is somebody who has performed. He was the leading rusher 2 years ago, had a lot of injuries last year, but yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see the way that plays out.
And he's in his first contract. Like, it's not like Jonathan Taylor is rounding 30. The guy's 24 years old. It's just so baffling to me what they are doing to alienate by far the best player on their offense, on their roster.
We can talk about this later because we had an interesting discussion in the Titans media room about this yesterday after practice, specifically because Derrick Henry's in a contract year and it brings up the value of running backs and what exactly that is. But Titans practice has just ended, which means Rashad Weaver will join us at the table coming up next. PhD Weight Loss is an incredible program. They helped me. They helped Ramon Foster. They've helped so many other people achieve their weight loss goals, and they can do the exact same for you. It's an awesome program that was just as simple as me getting on the phone with one of their representatives, them laying out my daily schedule, and helping me plan my diet as such. It made traveling for Titans games, eating press box food, all these different things that were setbacks for me, made it a lot easier to help me get myself back on track. I was able to drop 58 pounds on the plan for PhD Weight Loss, and they can help you as well. In fact, if you get within 5 pounds of your target weight loss goal within the period of time that they set out for you, if you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight loss goal, they will continue to coach you for free. That's the kind of customer service that you can expect at PhD Weight Loss. Get your program started today at myphdweightloss.com. Welcome back live from Titans training camp here on 104.5 The Zone. We're hanging out with us throughout the course of today. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to join at any point, fans are getting some autographs signed out here in front of us right now. Rashad Weaver going to come over and hang out at the table here in just a little bit. So some things from practice that people are saying based on the vantage point of the third field over there where the Titans were practicing today. Couple of notes. Reggie Robertson making a couple of plays. Went to the ground to make a catch short of the goal line. Big gain, but a throw that might have been a touchdown had Malik Willis hit him in stride based on some analysis from 7-on-7. You got a couple of big back-to-back big-time plays, according to Tehran, from Azeez Al-Sher. Stopped an end around for a big loss, then shot in, destroyed a quick handoff to Tajay Spears for another loss. Apparently got up and was chirping about it after the play. So a couple of things on both sides of the ball to get people excited about at this point. You're going to hear from Traylon Burks and Arden Key at the podium. We'll carry those press conferences here in a little bit, but in the meantime, we got Big Weave sitting down with us on 104.5 The Zone. Rashad Weaver, kind enough to give us some of his time today. What's happening, big dog?
What up? How y'all boys doing today?
Man, we're good. We're good. How's the vibes?
Vibes are always up.
Yeah?
Vibes are always up, never down, man. Another day of greatness.
It's always a grind at training camp. I was thinking about this today. This is year 3 for you.
Year 3,
What the hell
man.
happened? You're a vet.
Counting them up, man, but I like to just view it as year 2. I lost that year 1. Vet in the mind, but still 2 on the body.
Yeah.
Got a lot to keep going, and I'm excited, ready. A lot to look forward this year, and I think a lot of things are coming together.
So from that standpoint, we talked to you in the spring about, the work that you put in this offseason to try and get physically bigger, better, faster, stronger, all these things. Where are you seeing that pay dividends right now?
I think just in my movements and, once you get to the NFL and you do these pass rushes and you get to the top of rushes or latched on blocks, you got to be a man to get off of them. So I think being able to disengage and really be more violent within my movements and stuff is where I see a lot of it paying off.
So from that standpoint, like after practice, I know Lawan used to do this with Harold when he was out here. Are you working with the offensive linemen beyond like those reps that you're getting, whether it's full pads, whether you guys aren't in pads, all these things to kind of better understand your hand placement, their hand placement, how they're going to counter some of the stuff you're doing? Has that been a part of your guys' experience at all?
Nah, I mean, honestly, nah. I haven't worked with any of them O-linemen. I really don't like none of them when out there, but nah. Most of that is you can work it by yourself or with other D linemen and stuff like that. That's where we kind of work with it. So personally, no, I haven't done that.
So for you, at least in the early going, defense seems like it got the juice. And it's not just because Arden and Jeff are out there yelling on every snap. They're yelling through at walkthroughs. They're yelling in stretch at this point. But it seems like you guys are feeding off one another. I'm sure it's great to have Harold back out there. What has kind of been the experience through the first week of work for you guys?
I think it's all that. It's not just one guy. It's a combination. And when that energy's in every day, especially with guys like Jeff and Arden, it's not just a here and there type of thing, but when they come every day, it comes like that every day. It just kind of spreads across the team, is contagious, and even if you feel like you don't have no juice that morning, by the time you're out there around those guys, you got juice. And then guys out there making plays, celebrating loud, just having fun. It's really building the bond, the chemistry, and just electrifying like the whole defense out there together. So
you guys have a standard that you've always held, or at least that Mike Vrabel's always held during his time here about, what this defense is, how effective you guys can be when you can get pressure with 4, all the different ways that you do that, whether that's, stunts and games up front, whether that's those zone exchange pressures that are used from time to kind of keep quarterbacks on their heels. Like, for you guys, what is the expectation heading into this year where there's not been a lot of discussion around the Titans, and in particular, it seems like this front's being slept on a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think every team in the league feels like they're slept on at some point or this or that. That's just always the narrative going into the season. But I think it's just more about us knowing what we got in that front seven and us seeing the work we're putting in every day. And our expectations is to go out there and make it hell for the offense every game, I think whether it's a 4-man rush, we feel like we can win just as good if we're bringing the blitz. And I think that's the standard we have in that room, in the D-line room. And it's a bunch of guys who feel like every play they can make something happen. And that's not just talk. It's guys that consistently do that over and over in practice. And I think when it all comes together, it'll show.
We're talking to Bowen today. Rashad Weaver hanging out here with us at Titans training camp on 104.5 The Zone. We're talking to Bowen today about the emphasis on trying to get the ball out. A strip sack is obviously better than a sack. Like, there's been some opportunities where they might have shown you guys on tape where you could have had the opportunity to knock the ball out there, trying to continue that emphasis. I remember y'all talking about that last year when we spent some time with Crow and some of the other assistant coaches. I guess, what has been the process for you to identify those opportunities, and what are you guys kind of implementing on the practice field to make sure that you're taking advantage of them?
I think it's just every day emphasizing the different techniques to get the ball out, and then consistently practicing on the dummy. When you finish a pass rush move or anything, there's a ball there for us to hit and get out, and it's being violent with it. Everything's about violence. You know, you're not always going to be perfect with your hammer or your punches to get the ball out, but when you're violent and trying to break these guys' arms off and where they're carrying the ball, I think it's just a mindset that the ball is the motive. You know, it changes the games. It helps the team. It helps you personally. Like, everything about it is positive when you get that ball out, and it's just fun at the end of the day when you make a big play like that, and you get the whole team fired up, get the stadium fired up, and then change the game all in one. So I think it just holds so much value that when you really emphasize it, it doesn't need much more talked about than that. Everybody kind of knows the importance of it.
We were talking to Tajay Spears over here the other day, and the thing he's stressing about most during camp is, like, the jokes that you have them telling up there. The rookies got to come up with jokes on a regular basis. Who is the worst joke teller in this rookie class, whether it's delivery or material?
They're bad.
All of them?
They're really bad.
Were you better?
I can't even blame them. Like, it's easy to sit back there and, like, just go up there and give a good joke, relax. But as a rookie, that's some stress right there. So I can't even blame them. But I don't know if we've had any good ones yet.
Not a single one.
A couple of hee-hee, ha-has, but nothing that really knee slappers yet. We ain't got no knee slappers.
Pity laughs at this point? Something to help them get along up there?
They got some good ones, but no, I'd say 95% are terrible.
Rashad Weaver hanging out here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So, like, now that you said you treat this a little more like year two, given that you had the first year loss to injury. Now that you're a little more removed from your rookie season, what do you kind of impart to rookies who are coming in? You know their heads are swimming. It's all kinds of different new experiences, literally every day, especially at this time of year. How do you kind of manage that with the younger guys in the room?
Yeah, my keys to them things that I try to do myself, and I wish I would have told myself more or heard more is, just continue to have fun with it. If you ain't having fun with it, it's going to be hard. Every day is going to be super long, and you're not going to get to enjoy any part of the process. Like, it's going to be rough. It's going to be hard. That's part of the NFL, but if you're not having any fun with it, it ain't going to be worth it in the end, And then also just take it day by day. Like, don't be as stressed as you feel, because, like, it's not going to change. Nothing's going to change. Just kind of get over the things that seem like a big deal maybe in the building that aren't as much once you get on the field, so you can really go out there and just worry about football and have fun.
How big a deal has it been for you guys to have Harold back out there?
Oh, I mean, great. I mean, I joke with Harold and everything. I always tell him I want to be like Harold Landry. He knows everything. I mean, that dude, not just his skill set on the field, but his mind and his mental, his whole defense from the front to the back. Any question, whether, Crows ask him, we haven't talked about it in like 2 years. Do you remember this? Harold can spit it back out. So just to have a guy like that in the room that can know everything about the defense is always great. I learned so much from him, and then along with having him in the room, he's a funny guy. I feel like people don't know that maybe as much.
Well, yeah, because he hates us.
Yeah,
Rashad, he hates talking to us on a regular basis. I don't blame him. I'd hate us too. But,
guy.
Harold wants nothing to do with that podium anytime he's up there.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, so he makes the meetings more enjoyable. That room is, a little crazy. But Harold is definitely, y'all don't know Harold.
I'll take your word for it. What are you about to do?
What am I about to do? I don't know, man. Go get this day just started, really.
Yeah, all right.
Workout, meetings, keep going.
That's training camp,
Day 2 of pads. A lot more to go.
That's how it goes. Rashad Weaver, kind enough to sit down with us. Always good to see you.
Appreciate
you
stopping
guys. By. Continued health and success.
Yes, sir.
And we'll hear from you. What do you think Arden's going to say at the podium? Anything good?
A lot of great stuff. Be ready.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what he's going to say, but be ready.
It's always a wild card. Rashad Weaver, kind enough to spend some time here with us. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump on. We're going to continue talking about the Titans pass rush group. We'll let Rashad go and continue to react to things that we're seeing out here at Titans training camp. Mike Vrabel will speak at the podium later on. We'll carry that press conference as well, but a lot of good stuff there from Rashad about his teammates, where this defense kind of sees themselves at right now, and kind of the standard that they've continued to hold themselves to under Mike Vrabel at this point. Oh, his microphone's dead, Kirby. You have something to say?
Kirby censoring me.
How's it feel? You have something, nothing to say now?
I lost
That's
it.
fantastic.
Okay. But I feel like Rashad is a guy. We talk about Arden Key as one of the most important people for this pass rush, like Harold Landry, back, healthy. Obviously, we know what Jeffrey Simmons, what Danico Autry mean for this front seven. But you talk about guys that could help take it to the next level. You're looking at the depth guys, right? The guys in behind the likes of Arden Key and Harold Landry. And Rashad Weaver, if he's able to make a year 3, or as he would call it, year 2 jump here in 2023, then you're talking about a massive, massive difference, because the pressure's already on Arden Key and Harold Landry to come back healthy. And Rashad Weaver can come in and kind of help supplant that a little bit.
I just saw some dude slap Weaver on the butt as he walked by. You think that with them
guys? I've always wanted to slap an NFL player on the butt as he walks by me. Just smack him on the rear. Pretend like you're on a sideline. I check that off the bucket list.
Well, because I saw him, he got stuck behind. Listen, people are their players are signing autographs for people, and obviously, Weaver kind enough to come over here on this side of the fence, and people are going to ask.
Good stuff, Rashad.
Yeah. He's just walking out.
Good job out there.
Just walking out of here, some dude just pats him on the butt.
That guy got what he wanted. He's
yes.
out of here. He's
a handful of Weaver.
Doesn't need any more signatures. Doesn't need to see anything else. He is
sweaty
good.
handprint on a NFL player's butt. 615-737. I'm saying at this point, he was out here the other day. Yesterday.
Caleb Farley?
Yeah, he was out here with his agent, Drew Rosenhaus.
Yeah, I saw Rosenhaus walking around.
What, you didn't recognize the corner? You recognized the agent more than you recognized the corner?
I missed Farley. I did not see him. Shane on the F&M Bank chat asks, is Tier Tart still on the team?
Yes, Tier Tart is. Indeed, he is. In fact, he was just sitting down at the table next to us doing interviews.
He's been out there.
Yes. So, what is the nature of the question other than
we're talking about the front seven. I suppose I didn't list here Tart when I was talking about Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry. Tart has been out there. Really, there haven't been a lot of notable omissions, right? Wiley was kind of missing early on. He's been out here in pads.
Yesterday was his first full practice with the team.
Yeah.
Josh Wiley.
So we haven't had this, X player isn't out there. What's going on? Hasn't happened yet.
Okay. Can I say something for people who asked you that in the chat?
Shane on the F&M Bank chat.
Okay, Shane, and for everybody else, we are not going to mention every single player. What is there, 90 on the roster currently? 91?
There's 91 on this piece of paper right
91 on the roster. I will promise you, I will make you one promise and one promise only throughout the course of training camp. We are not going to say the name of all 91 players every day that we're out here. So, if you have not heard specifically Tier Tart or, Chance Campbell or whichever player that we've omitted on a particular day, I promise you that there will be discussions had at some point. We're out here for literally 6 weeks. Back to the phones. If we want to get involved, Jackson tells me that they're gone, so we're not going to get on the phone. 615-737-1045 if you would like to. Well, the good news is if you want to call in, you can certainly have the opportunity to do so. Open lines at this point. For this edge rush group, should we start with the edge rush and talk about the defensive line on another day? Because I'm sure we'll have somebody over here to talk about the defensive line group with. As you mentioned, like Harold being back there, did you listen to Bowen at all this morning?
I caught most of what Shane Bowen was saying.
So Shane Bowen basically said, Harold looks pre-injury. Harold himself said at the podium the other day with us, it damn near feels like I've got a perfect ACL. Now, you look around and you knock on wood and do all those things if you're Harold or the Titans or fans of the team or all these different things that want to make sure that Harold continues that health for the sake of this pass rush and, for his own personal reasons. But Harold Landry being back to form is as good an addition as good an addition as this pass rush could hope to have. They were not a great team. You would have expected them, or you would have had higher standards for them last year, given what you thought this front might have. But as soon as Harold went down a week before the regular season started, that obviously changed. You had Bud missing a fair amount of time at any given point, where he was an impact player when he was available. Simply wasn't available enough. I think you could say the same of David Long. That energy, people did not have that energy for David Long in the same way that they did for Bud Dupree, and I felt like a similar circumstance, even though one was being paid infinitely more money than the other. Availability for this football team has been such a damning situation for basically the past 2 seasons. And so when you look at what these guys have to offer, again, you can't predict health. But if they're going to legitimately have a rotation, then I think the idea that Weaver, Key, Landry, Danico Autry belongs in this group. He practices with the edge guys. I think for the purposes of this exercise, we should include him with those edge guys. He plays a lot outside, particularly in their NASCAR packages or whatever terminology they would use. It's a group that's got a variety of different players, a lot of length, some dudes who have the ability to use multiple pass rush moves, a veteran in Harold who, you heard Rashad mention it himself. He'll recite things from 2 years ago that they used defensively that they might want to bring back into the playbook, or certain game scenarios that Landry can recite offhand. They've got basically experience at every level of this edge rush group right now, and I think that in ways that I didn't feel great about their depth last year, now you're talking about, can guys like Caleb Murphy latch on, the outside linebacker, the undrafted rookie,
Ferris State,
who comes from Ferris State, who led all of college football in sacks.
Crazy numbers last year.
Right? Wild numbers. And, with the level of competition being what it is, here he'll get NFL coaching to further refine that raw skill set, and he becomes an interesting piece, right? Whether that's practice squad or rotational player. It's a fun group, provided that they can maintain their health, which is something that we'll say about literally every position group that we talk about.
Which player was it? Was it Chig yesterday that said something along the lines of, this is a team full of players with something to prove? Was it Chig yesterday, or was it somebody from Thursday?
Because he started to. Well, Murphy Bunning said something to a similar effect.
Yeah.
But I think that was more from his personal perspective than it was Chig speaking from a team perspective.
And that's a cliche thing. Like, that's not this big takeaway. A lot of players say that. I love Rashad pointing out how every team finds reasons to be slept on coming into the season. We know that as well. But I do think that idea of this being a team full of guys with something to prove is arguably most concentrated in that edge rusher group. Arden Key has been extremely, he's talking about it literally right now at the podium, extremely vocal about this opportunity to not just be a third down guy, but to be down in, down out, snap in and snap out, full-time starting edge rusher for the Titans. First time he's ever gotten to do that in his NFL career. Harold Landry coming back off of the ACL, and Rashad Weaver now phrasing it as year 2 and not year 3 because of how he lost year 1. I'm like, would you say that is the position group with the most individuals that have that mindset? From top to bottom.
Yeah.
And even when you get into the front, like Jeff now has that contract, so you're living up to the contract.
Sure.
Tier Tart and the depth guys. Again,
and his messaging on social media in the offseason with the second-round tender that they offered him, and him thinking, him being very aware of his value.
Yeah, but every player can say that, and I've got something to prove.
Sure.
You got to have that mentality going in, but I do feel like that is heightened with this edge rusher group coming off of injury, looking for that breakthrough like Weaver, like Arden Key with that opportunity. I do think that is a definitely very concentrated within that room.
Coming up next, you'll hear from Traylon Burks and Mike Vrabel at the podium as practice has concluded out here at St. Thomas Sports Park. We'll carry those press conference live for you coming up next.
Back at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, Titans training camp. Practice has concluded. Arden Key was at the podium a few minutes ago. Now it's second-year wide receiver Traylon Burks meeting with Titans media, and we go to that live.
Yeah, that played. I mean, I couldn't help that one.
There was a list of the athletic league's general managers, head coaches, offensive coordinators ranked Ryan as the 22nd best quarterback in the NFL. That's people inside the league. How do you guys feel about maybe the respect level that's given to Ryan outside of here?
We honestly don't really think about it. We just care about what's inside our house here, take care of our business, and he knows that, and that's why he goes out here every day and put his best foot forward and comes out and practices his hardest. So,
what are your expectations for yourself? Not numbers-wise, but what do you want out of yourself in your career?
Man, just to, inspire people, just show them that you can overcome anything and just have fun with anything that you do. Just have fun with it. Don't stress, and always keep God first.
Talk about some of the undrafted guys competing at receiver. What kind of advice do you give to those guys that you started camp?
I usually tell the guys that go out there and just have fun. Don't overthink anything, and bring your best every day, because you never know if you will be here tomorrow. You never know if you're going to be here when you get back in the locker room, and so you always make sure you go out and put your best foot forward and have fun with it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Traylon.
That is Titans wide receiver Traylon Burks meeting with the media following up Arden Key. So as we wait for head coach Mike Vrabel to step up to the podium, we'll get some practice observations in the noon hour from some folks that maybe had better angles here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. But surely Will Levis will grab some headlines again for the second consecutive day. Only the second day in pads, but more team drills happening. And as Levis continues to practice with the threes, he continues to make plays. This was Teron Davenport about an hour ago tweeting back-to-back big gains by Will Levis. Hit Reggie Roberson on a go route, then connected with Roberson in the corner of the end zone. Needed a little more anticipation, but he got it there. Next play, hit Mason Kinsey for a touchdown on a contested catch with Trey Avery in coverage. So it'll be interesting to see at what point Levis gets elevated to get some work in with the twos, because clearly he's finding success as QB3 on this roster at the moment, and now he's stacking back-to-back days in pads. A lot more to be done, though, of course, in that regard when it comes to consistency. It sounded like a fiery day out there at practice. We talked a little bit about the confrontation between Jamarco Jones and Jeffrey Simmons that had them both working in the sand pit. Azeez Al-Shaair mixing it up, stopping an end around for a big loss, and then Teron Davenport again tweeting that he came in and blew up a handoff to Tyjae Spears, and that one forced a fumble. Al-Shaair up, very animated. He sat in on Arden Key's press conference, poked some fun at the Titans outside linebacker, asking him his regiment for going from being a little bit chubby now to the condition that he's in. Of course, former teammates in San Francisco. It's been interesting to see the kind of the chemistry within this defense with so many new faces, but some of them having worked together in the past, like Arden Key and Azeez Al-Shaair, and Harold Landry now coming back into the fold with that edge rushing group. Like Rashad Weaver was talking about, the defense has been very lively, very loud in the early portion of training camp, which certainly will be a welcome sight for the Titans fans that were out here, like they were today, watching practice take place out here at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. So Titans head coach Mike Vrabel is at the podium. Here's what we'll do. We'll hit a break, we'll come back, and we'll catch most of what Mike Vrabel has to say, speaking with Titans media live from Titans training camp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park on 104.5 The Zone. It is 11:57. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica, live from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans training camp. Head coach Mike Vrabel speaking at the podium, talking about quarterback Will Levis getting some work with the twos today on the practice field. Did not want to discuss the dust-up between Jamarco Jones and Jeffrey Simmons that had both sent to the sandpit. We'll hear more from the Titans head coach shortly. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Hour number 3 at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans training camp. The field is clear. Fans have left the building. Mike Vrabel still at the podium. We go to it live here on 104.5 The Zone.
And then all of a sudden it's like, whoop, that's a little quicker than what we practiced in April and May. So we'll just keep progressing and trying to get those guys to work together as a unit.
How's Chig coming along as a blocker?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing for Chig is going to continue to be his hand placement. I don't think we're going to make him any bigger. He's not going to be a 260-pound player, but, I think we have to just continue to focus on his hands and making sure that they're inside, that they're strong and they're powerful. First play today, just, not going to be able to sustain against Arden or any player with your hands outside. You just don't have enough power. So he's willing. I just think that the technique has to improve.
You talking about the Derrick run on the outside?
The first one.
Has Hubbard given you what you expected from a veteran coming in?
Yeah. I mean, he showed up here 30 minutes later. He was practicing and was able to function. I think he's gotten better each and every day. So I enjoy his attitude. I enjoy his willingness to hop in there and his professionalism.
Chig size. You've got a group of tight ends who've got some size to them. I would imagine there's design behind that for you guys.
Well, again, we're just looking for functionality and the guys that can have the ability to try to sustain at the line of scrimmage, whether that's in the pass game or the run game. You got to find ways to neutralize some of these defensive ends and some of these edge players in our league. They're elite players for a reason. They're long, they're explosive, they're instinctive, and so hopefully we can find some guys at the end of the line of scrimmage that can help block those guys or at least stalemate them in a run game, and when we play past it, that we can hold up.
Here's one play where you called a horse collar or maybe a taunting right after it.
2-for-1 special.
Yeah. What's the balance of wanting the guys to play hard, make plays, but also not cross the line?
Yeah, I mean, we want them to go to the line. We want them to look over it, take a peek, and stop. I mean, you have to be able to play this game with speed and with violence, but also, be able to understand when you could get a defenseless, player penalty in the back end of the defense, when you could get a blindside block as an offensive lineman, or in that case, a horse collar. And, again, the horse collar is one thing. It's taunting and the pointing the finger that, is just going to end up being a penalty. It's right in front of everybody.
When you first start talking to new guys here about not focusing on results, is that difficult to break through with some who are thinking, well, I got here because of my results. I want to make touchdown catches. I want to get sacks. Is there an early disconnect for some guy?
I don't think that there is. I mean, this is a results and production business, and when I coach sometimes, maybe I've misled you a little bit, and it's like, we want them to be able to go and make plays and understand where they need to be with regards to the team as well. There's a play that's relying on everybody's job and everybody's responsibility. And if you stray too far from that, then I think that that's a problem. But having your own little flavor or your own little flair is different than just kind of going rogue and doing your own thing when the quarterback expects you to be somewhere else or the defense expects you to contain on a certain blitz. Like, we're sending 4 guys from one side. Like, we're going to need you on this one. This is a non-negotiable. Like, you're going to have to contain. So, I think we try to do a good job of walking and having that balance of, being a football player and making plays and helping the team, but also not being a detriment.
Is there anything from when you became the head coach here to now that you kind of look back and changed maybe a little, or do you feel like you've been steady Eddie on the way that you do things, run camp, all of that stuff?
I think we're always trying to change things daily. Like, we have a schedule for Thursday, and based on what the health of the team is or what we need on that particular day, that may change. I think I've tried to always stay flexible and be able to adjust and adapt to things that come up. I think that the overriding themes are similar, but we've changed practice schedules and the way we do things each and every year.
How do you manage the balancing act of, like, obviously you've got 2 young quarterbacks that you want to get as many reps as possible, but you also have a new offense with a lot of new pieces in terms of starters. So, balancing in practice, getting as many reps to those guys to prepare for this season and not focus on the future.
Yeah, none of us are focused on the future outside of today and what we're going to do. So we've tried to just balance the reps out, and the guys that right now that are working with the ones probably have more reps. And then I would say that the next 2 groups are probably somewhat balanced. Tried to do that today. Tried to plan out what I thought the reps were going to be, Kayla, and they maybe were a little more or less. You have to have a plan, and then if it doesn't work, be willing to adjust it. So we tried to. When we say develop them, I mean, we're talking about develop them for this year and how they can help us this year, not the future.
In evaluating the kicker competition, is it maybe more valuable to see what they can do in the preseason game situations where they may have to make a 50-yarder late in a game to, put you ahead rather than what goes on out here?
Well, I think that would always override it, but we can only manufacture so many of those things, and I'll try to do my best to manufacture those. We're also going to try to run plays that help us score touchdowns, and but I mean, ideally, yes, I would hope that any game experience that we could use to evaluate everybody would be beneficial. How many of those we're going to get, I think, remains to be seen.
As someone like Alex Mack, who played a full season in the spring, do you guys have to do anything different with reps and recovery since you played so recently, or is it kind of same as everybody else?
I think Alizé is going to be willing to take as many reps as he needs to take to try to earn a role in this team. And if he tells me, Coach, I need a rest, then we'll give him a rest. But I don't anticipate that being the case.
That play you're talking about with Jiggs, his hands got outside. Did he hold on that play?
No, I felt like it was just on a first glance, I felt like he let go when Arden broke the framework of his body and tried to give him a shove, is what we coach to do. I think, again, I looked at it with a critical eye, and I didn't see restriction at the point of attack. But again, I'm not an official. I just try to look and see what they call. I felt like he did let go, and he did try to give him a shove, and then we'll see if that guy, in that case, Arden, can tackle Derek. So, again, I think it could have been better. I thought that it was smart not to grab him and tug him, and it was smart to give him a shove at the end like we teach. So, started off not so well and probably could have finished okay.
How much of these practices do you get through before you come back out to talk to us?
How much of the practice? Well, I mean, when we have guests here, I try to sign autographs, and so maybe I get through, I don't know, some of the open field tackling or 15, 20 plays. But I try to sign autographs and then go in there, and then when Robbie texts, I come running.
That is head coach Mike Vrabel speaking after the second padded practice of Titans training camp 2023. More talk about Will Levis today. Another sharp morning for the rookie, starting to layer in some reps with the twos. Vrabel talking about wanting to see Levis play with different offensive linemen, different wide receivers. Praised the offensive line a little bit today, liked the pockets that were forming around quarterbacks. Noted in some colorful language, I believe. We were not carrying it live at that point when he mentioned the offensive line being like bleep through a brass horn, was it, Jackson, without pads on, and it looking a little bit better with fully padded practices. But Levis will continue to be a big takeaway today, starting to elevate a little bit in terms of the guys that are around him. As he's dicing up third-team corners now, he'll start to get those opportunities more and more against second-team corners, like he was today. Will Levis met with the media after practice as well to talk a little bit about what he showed on this Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's really just repetition, and I think like regardless of how familiar you might have been with like a system like this before, it's a new offense, and you need to get those reps with the new language, and even just the procedure of getting the play in the headset and repeating it to the huddle, just getting more comfortable with that since it's the first time I've done that, obviously. So all in all, I mean, definitely think I'm improving. Just gotta keep working. It's just like, even though it's more important and harder to understand that even though the result might have been good, might have been a touchdown, we can still not be playing to our standard. Coach Graves gets a cut up right after practice at our squad meeting of a bunch of plays, good and bad, and just little things that even though maybe this play they didn't keep us from not getting the job done, down the road we're going to need that to show up if we want to get to where we want to get to. So, I mean, just always having a high standard and keep pushing to get as close to perfection. It's always the most game-like type practices. We even had some full contact inadvertently, so it was a good day. Proud of how the offense is prepared and just gotten ready for all these practices, but then this has been our most important one yet. And Coach Graves harped on that today in the meeting, so good to see both sides of the ball go out there and do some good things.
So that's Will Levis talking after practice today.
What
Yes?
is that?
I'm asking you. You played you tossed the audio. I just sat down.
That was a weird way for you to start.
I was looking at you for the audio that you threw to. I thought you could pick up on visual cues.
That was the Jugs Machines featuring Titans quarterback Will Levis talking about the day that was.
Hey man, between the lawnmowers, the jugs, there's small children running around everywhere. It's lucky if we can get any audio quality out of anything.
But he'll probably continue to be the biggest takeaway today. Mark it. August 1st, 2023, the first day Will Levis took reps with the twos at Titans practice.
Well, that's not true.
They did yesterday?
No, they did in the spring.
Oh, okay. I don't really count that. I'm talking about team drills, full pads.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not talking about May. I'm not talking about OTAs.
Wait.
What are you talking about?
Were you just treating this with much seriousness and importance?
You're talking about rookie minicamp? What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about, a month ago. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's not a bad thing. It's the kind of progress that you're hoping that he makes. And, yeah, we'll see how they split it up, who ends up starting preseason games and things of that nature. And it'll probably be a situation where they do what they did with, who was it, Woodside and Matt Barkley and Woodside and Malik, where they start one at the start of the game, the other one comes in for another series, things like that. So, look at training camp the way that you would look at those preseason games right now. It's not predetermining anything. It just so happens that Will Levis had a good day yesterday, had some opportunities with the twos today, but it's something that they continue to talk about on a regular basis, is just trying to find these guys' throws. So
yeah, it's not Will Levis, inching closer in the backup quarterback battle. It's wanting to see Will Levis with different personnel around him.
Well, I mean, it may be, but it's not predetermined, right?
Yeah.
That's not something that's just been determined today or based off yesterday's results. That's, I think, something that it's Mike, it's Coach Mack, perpetually keep your powder dry. That's the kind of place that we're at with the quarterback situation. But I think when you talk, notable, by the way, speaking of quarterbacks, not quarterbacks, but cornerbacks, Christian Fulton, we did mention, pulled up a little bit during practice and then was taken off there. Our good friend and colleague Teron Davenport admiring what
That's going to walk away with it.
Listen, if it didn't say BR show on the back, I would.
Oilers throwback.
Yeah, Nate Bain kind enough to drop the show off an Oilers throwback jersey.
Kirby's guarding it with his life.
Well, thank you, Kirby, for your great effort there. So I think that when you talk about the quarterback situation, just kind of temper your expectations for Will Levis right now. It sounds like he got into a good rhythm. Sounds like he put himself in good position to continue to stack those days, right? That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about at this point. 615-737-1045 is how you can react to the situation or what you heard from Mike Vrabel there. Did you hear what he had to say about the offensive line group, or did you have to scramble quickly and dump it?
No, thankfully we were not carrying it live when he used the bleep through a brass horn line. Where does that come? Like, where does that saying come from? I feel like Kirby would know this because Nick Saban has used this. He said bleep through a tin horn once, talking about the way I think it was Georgia State's Georgia Southern's triple option.
I want to know
ran
why
through Alabama.
Why tin as opposed to
Yes.
brass? Today was brass. Nick Saban was tin.
If you're referring to tin horn, that is a comment that was made by people who were, say, green behind the ears or wet behind the ears out in the Old West, who were out there attempting to make maybe a nefarious or unqualified living back in the day of hardship. You know what I mean? Cowboys.
Can we verify that on Urban Dictionary?
Yeah, a tin horn is someone that doesn't know what the hell they're doing, but they're in a place pretending to know what they are.
Yes, but why does excrement pass through it relatively easy?
I think that's more like I think it's mixed metaphor right there. It's like referring to a tin horn and maybe the old like blank through a goose. You know what I mean?
I want to know where these things come from.
I think that is a combination of of two.
I think that people just make these things up, or that they start as one thing and end up as another. It's
Well,
like,
that happens a lot. Euphemisms.
My stepdad continues to use. Is it an analogy? Is it a metaphor? Colder than a well digger's ass. I don't know how cold that is. I don't know why it's cold.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
It
Like, I
also-
get why that would be cold.
It also goes to hotter than a well digger's ass in Utah. That's the entire saying.
Utah.
You
That
can
makes
flip it
sense.
either way. Also,
geographic, yeah.
you can use colder than a witch's body part in a brass bra. But those are things, and people mix them up all the time.
Yes.
As we go further and further away from the generations that use them constantly, the youth will hear pieces of it, and they'll combine two or
Sure.
three. My grandfather's was a favorite. If you never used the word "if" in our family, if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass when he jumped. The other one was there are more than one way to skin a cat. Which is I use a lot. Never use it around a 6-year-old girl.
Okay, that's fair. Also around me, get away from my
So
cat.
I think Vrabel had his own variation, though, because I think the saying is like bleep through a tin horn. He said through a brass horn.
I just want to know who got drunk and bleeped in a horn. Like that's what I want to know. Like I want to know what the origination of that is, why people are feeling the need to defecate into a horn, and why it's making its way onto the Titans practice field. Perhaps Corey Curtis.
Why does it move faster?
Why does it move faster? Perhaps he can bring some physics to the conversation. Coming up next, he's going to sit down with us in just a little bit. We're live from Titans training camp, where we're wrapping up day 5 at St. Thomas Sports Park. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Yeah, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
It is the lunch hour, and you know I'm thinking about Central Barbecue. Smoked wings sound unbelievable, and in fact, you can get smoked wings and all kinds of other great things at Central Barbecue for lunch or dinner because it's $2 Tuesday. You can go check out their location in Hillsborough Village. It's the Old Sportsman's Grill spot. It is the kind of place that I know you're going to want to go, and once you go for the first time, you're going to want to go back. 21 years serving Memphis-style competition-level barbecue, and they've brought it here to Middle Tennessee. They have so many great offerings, so many great daily specials on a regular basis. Like I said, it's $2 Tuesday, so get on down to Central Barbecue today. Yep. Welcome back live from Titans training camp here on 104.5 The Zone. Camp concluded for the day, but that does not mean that the radio show is. We've recruited Corey Curtis to come hang out here with us on 104.5 The Zone. WKRN News 2 is where you can find him. Sports Extra on Sunday nights is where you can find him and the gang. Hey, bud.
How are you?
Great.
You know, it's funny because I'm old.
Yeah.
You know, you and Jared are both young enough to be my sons.
No. I'm 30, Corey. You're not that
I'm
old.
52. I'll be 53 this year.
Yeah, it checks out.
22-year-olds having children? I mean, I guess that's a
Tennessee,
thing.
man.
Yeah, buddy, you graduate high school and that clock starts in these parts. Oh, my God,
but it's funny. So you guys are two of my better friends out here. And I find that I spend most of my time defending both of you.
Why?
Wait, yeah, no, tell Lucas what you said to me last week at practice.
Oh, my neighbor was walking his dogs. He's like, I heard you on the radio. And I'm like, with Jared the other day? He's like, no, the other really pompous, obnoxious guy. I'm like, oh, you mean Buck? He's like, yeah. I go, okay.
Well, you can reassure your neighbor that it's real.
And then there's my daughter who's always, who every time we go to a Nashville SC game, wants to know if Buck is there because she wants to know if they're going to win or not.
Oh, right.
Well, famously, like, I haven't seen a local professional team of any kind win a game since November 17th.
Yeah, stop going.
I have. Even the Sounds. I went on July 4th. They lost 19-2.
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
It was awful.
God. You don't have to defend him. Don't feel that burden or that need.
You just do what Lucas does, which is literally throw me under the train tracks.
Let that opinion stew, marinate.
He's trying to sit one seat closer to Corey Curtis.
That's right.
That actively helps his
It's all I've ever wanted.
Yeah. I did notice that you took off the Oilers jersey that Nate Bain brought us as Michael Chandler came over to sit down with us. Were you worried that he was going to question your professionalism?
I took it off well before Michael Chandler came over here because why wear layers?
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
It's a little warm.
It's actually not terrible today, but still hot.
How does a big T go out there in pants and a hoodie?
Terrell Williams, the Titans defensive line coach, and now assistant head coach.
Yes, outstanding coach. Really good.
I was actually over by the defensive line today. I know you were paying attention to offensive line, tight ends, and just basically scrimmage play. I guess everybody is paying closer attention now that the pads are actually on. But Terrell Williams has been, I think, consistently. That's somebody who Jeff talks about a lot.
Yep.
Haven't spent a lot of time talking to Tart specifically about him, but I know he's brought him up on a regular basis as somebody who's had an impact on kind of ironing out some of those things that were holding T.R. Tart back early on in the early going. Is that, there were moments when T.R. Tart, it sounds ridiculous to say, but there were moments the past couple of years where he's been a healthy scratch, and they have spoken to that. And Terrell Williams is somebody who's helped bring that group along. I think
he's why T.R. Tart won't be here next year.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty touch and go. It felt like this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to pay him, and they're going to trust Terrell Williams to coach up Naquan Jones or whoever else. PV, one of those guys that, to play that nose and to stop the run, and that's what they're going to do at that spot. They're never going to pay a lot of money. I mean, shoot, they didn't draft Hart. They didn't draft Naquan Jones, and I'll bet the guy after Naquan Jones doesn't get drafted either.
Yeah, they've found success specifically there. Now, I think Tart is a little bit of a different situation, and you have talented players who end up in different circumstances than their recruiting status might have had them. Tart was famously recruited by Alabama and then ended up at, is it FAU or I think FIU?
I think he wound up going to
FIU.
3 different schools, I think.
There was some JUCO in there as well.
I think he went to 2 JUCOs and then to FIU.
So, long story short, pads are on, pads are popping. Got a little heated over there. Mike Vrabel didn't want to talk about it.
Well, and really Jamarco Jones got a little heated yesterday too, not quite to that degree. And to put it bluntly, he's not good enough.
No.
He's not good enough, and his job with his team isn't secure enough to take a swing at a guy making over $20 million a year. I mean, you got to stand up for yourself. There's no question about that. But, Mike Vrabel has set the tone. You throw a punch, you go to the sandpit, and you don't get better in the sandpit. You get better out here. In the meantime, Chris Hubbard, who just walked in the door, gets a full day with the ones by himself. and that matters.
He continues to do that, though. It's not just this year that's been a thing. I mean, he slapped the holy hell out of Lawan last year, Jamarco Jones did.
Yeah, he fought his teammate on the offensive line.
That was his most notable contribution to the football team last year.
And there was no sandpit situation last year, right? You just get sent inside.
Yeah. Now you go to the sandpit.
Now it's a much worse punishment.
Yeah, I walked by him at the end of practice. He did not look like he was having a good time.
So at a certain point, like, hey, bleep hole, knock it off.
Well, you just, you're professionals, and you got to handle it like a professional. You can get upset, but you've also got to get a point where you walk away. I mean, I can't count how many times I've gotten upset with you and Jared, but at the end of the day, I got to keep my job, so I just shut my mouth and I walk away.
That's fantastic.
No, it's not, Jackson. Corey Curtis, WKRN News 2, is here with us on 104.5. I can't even cut ads in peace. They chop them up and they use them against me.
You don't deserve it.
It's true. I don't. See? Thank you. Finally. Even in sarcasm, somebody on my side.
No, you don't deserve the break. You deserve everything you get.
Can you imagine how unbearable I'd be if they weren't constantly on my neck?
No.
The level of production quality around here just through the roof.
Grade A.
Offensive line,
yes.
though. You mentioned Chris Hubbard getting the bulk of today, if not almost all of today, with that first group. This is a career backup, Chris Hubbard. He's 9 years in the league. He's a little lighter than I think you'd like an offensive lineman to be. He's listed 295. That probably means less than that, one would think, especially as you're losing weight out here on the practice field in the summer. The right tackle situation is concerning under any circumstance. Is there a solution on the roster that you feel like has determined one way or the other? I know it's early and the pads just came on, but are they okay in-house?
Well, I think we're going to have to find out. I mean, when the pads go on is when you start to find stuff out. Jalen Duncan's a rookie. I mean, that's all there is to it.
And a rookie left tackle.
Yeah, and so, you don't know. And then you've got Ojokwu, right, from Boise State, who's gotten some time at guard as well. And who's, again, a rookie. And, you're getting a good look at some of those guys, and, of course, Jamarco Jones. But it's why I look at the tight ends, and I look at Kevin Wesco and Odukoya, and I look at
Trayvon Wesco.
Trayvon Wesco, yeah, and Odukoya, and there's a couple, Kevin Rader. Because they're going to need a sixth offensive lineman to start the season, whether it's on the left side or the right side. They're going to need those guys to help out.
Well, and you talk about that, like things that we can talk about from an offensive standpoint, even though we're only in training camp. They have had to help their tackles so much in the last 2 seasons. It has limited their passing game in ways that are clear and obvious to everybody beyond what the talent has already limited them to, right? That is something that I'm very much interested in seeing how they address, and, that is going to play a role in who makes the initial 53. It's not ever really a final 53 in ways that I think a lot of people do that with. They are going to have to help whomever is on the right or left side at this point, and Andre Dillard panning out would help them tremendously, especially with the idea that NPF was not a perfect player to begin with. They were already going to have to do something with that, whether that's keeping the slot receiver into chip, whether that's using the extra tight end. We know that that's going to be something that's a part of their offensive game plan by nature of them already limiting themselves with the NPF suspension.
Well, I mean, look, when you whiff on Isaiah Wilson and you whiff on Dylan Radin.
That dude's still getting suspended.
Yep.
He's suspended.
Yeah.
He could, even if he was here, he could
Isaiah Wilson, not Dylan Radin.
Yeah. I saw Radins today, although hear no evil, see no evil, third field.
And NPF is okay. I mean, you've invested a 1, a 2, and a 3, and you don't have a lockdown guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem. It's a problem. You've invested so much in that position. You needed one of those guys to be Jack Conklin. All right? That's what you needed. So you could have paid Jack Conklin, kept Jack Conklin, and still had – you could have kept a good player. You didn't keep a good player, and you haven't been able to replace him. Sound familiar?
And chasing.
They continue to chase various positions, which again there are several reasons why the previous holder of the general manager job is no longer in his job, but that I think is chief among that is the thing that has single-handedly undermined them the most last year.
Well, the gambles. I mean, they've taken gambles at some of these spots. I mean, look, I liked Isaiah Wilson coming out. I liked him in round 2. I didn't like him in round 1.
They liked him.
But
they loved him.
Yeah. But I'm saying, whether you took Christian Fulton in round 1 and Isaiah Wilson in round 2, it doesn't matter. Look, and I know it was the COVID year, but, you talk about chasing. That was why the next year I'm like, you cannot take a chance this year after whiffing last year on your first-round pick. And what do? They follow it up with Caleb Farley and Dylan Radins. Dylan Radins, who hadn't played in a year. So, again, you gamble again.
It's so funny. They're like seeing ghosts, those two, out here, because Radins is physically unable to perform. Farley physically unable to perform.
I saw Dylan before practice.
Right. He was out here doing stuff with the training staff. Farley was under the tent yesterday on the bleachers sitting with his agent talking about God knows what heading into year. Because that's just with Weaver over here on the radio show. He's in year 3. He had a year lost from injury, but he's a part of that draft class.
Mm-hmm.
Those dudes are quote-unquote veterans at this point. And they are like seeing ghosts out here on the practice field.
Yeah, Elijah Molden. Yeah. I mean, Elijah Molden's a baller. He just can't stay on the field.
Who's had the best impact from that class?
It's probably Molden. Molden.
Molden made plays when he was healthy.
The 2021 draft class.
I guess Weaver, just by nature of having to play so much last year without Harold.
Yeah.
Just by volume or percentage of snaps taken. Lucas, are you pulling up the draft?
It might be Monty Rice.
No.
He missed like a whole year.
Yeah, he blew out his Achilles. Like you want to talk about the nightmares that were the 2020 class? That 2021 was equally as.
Yeah,
Racy McMath.
They had back-to-back classes where they they got nothing.
It's Weaver.
That was the Des Fitzpatrick class. Yeah, it's Rashad.
They could have had Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And that was the class where that's the Trey Smith draft class, right?
Where Brady Breeze
is the 6th-round pick.
So getting back to the offensive line, because that's what you wanted to talk to me about. Can they afford to keep Peter Skoronski at guard? Because to me, if you put Skoronski at either one of the tackles and move Corey Levin or Jordan Ruse into one of the guard spots, I think you might have a better outcome than what you've got right now.
They know better than we. Corey Curtis, WKRN News 2, hanging out here with us on 104.5 The Zone. They have had an offensive line coach change.
Yes.
Hoteling is running things. Mike Sullivan has been as a part of that. He's the assistant offensive line coach. Levin and Ruse are two guys who had to play last year because of the injuries.
They've done okay. Levin's done okay his whole tenure here.
And this is his second stint here after going to a couple of different places, bouncing around, and then ultimately landing back here. I am surprised that those two, in some form or fashion, at either the position of center or guard, have not seen a few more opportunities. Now, it's not even a full week of practices. Yeah. Tomorrow will be a full week. So perhaps that opportunity still avails itself, Skoronski is they need help at the tackles. They move Skoronski out. We can see these things play themselves out just because they haven't happened yet. But, I am surprised that Ruse in particular didn't get more of a look because I thought he acquitted himself quite well in the stead of Nate Davis.
Too.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing about Skoronski inside, though, that I think is appealing. Aaron Brewer's undersized. Brunskill is a blown-up tight end. Skoronski's a bull.
Yeah.
And so you've got one bull in there to kind of hold things up.
And you don't have to worry about him at all so far.
Yeah, I saw him get – I can't remember who was rushing him. It might have been Key. Somebody got underneath his pads. And he got backed up like 3 steps.
Yeah.
But he was strong enough to stop it right there.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, he's on roller skates.
His set and anchor.
And then he went boom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Because he's a fridge.
He's huge. He's a big man, and he's only going to get stronger.
And so, just for context for the audience who might not remember, Mike Vrabel said initially when we talked to him, I think at the opening press conference of training camp a week ago, today, that right now their intention was not
to move him
because they had liked the results so far for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and you want to have some continuity. They ran all spring like that, so you don't want to come in here and change it up in the first day. But again, on the line of scrimmage, when the pads go on, that's the biggest place to me. That's where you really start to learn some stuff. And look, you're going to lose some battles there. How do they respond? How do they get better? I know everybody's piling on Andre Dillard right now. This group's really good up front defensively. You're going to have some struggles with them.
They're piling more on Brunskill, though, than they are Dillard. And Dillard is – it's almost like the NPF thing because NPF had Daly. I think Dillard is not talked about enough because of how problematic that right side looks.
Yeah.
I almost said the word bleep through a tin horn there. Caught myself, Kirby. I'm a pro. is not.
I'm a pro.
Jackson.
That's got to be a sounder for you, man. Jackson. I'm a pro.
Jackson just PTSD back there in the studio because Vrabel won't stop saying bleep.
Yeah.
We were not live, so he did not have to take any action
at
this time.
Point. This time.
Yesterday he did.
Yeah.
That's back-to-back days now.
Yeah,
actually.
so Vrabel said today that he thought since the pads have gone on that the pockets have actually gotten better.
Yes.
I think Tajay Spears had a nice pickup of Amani Hooker. And the other thing, to be fair to the offensive line, they brought it at those guys today.
Yeah.
They blitzed from all over. They stunted. This wasn't just 4-on-5. This was turning, twisting, looping, running in guys from the edges.
The things that help the Titans' defense play above their skis under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
They were throwing real stuff at them.
Yes,
today.
and that's how you get better. And that's how you learn communication. And for the offensive line, getting to know that guy next to you and being able to communicate in their own little secret ways, however they do it, is a big part of it. So, when I would expect them to lose some of those battles. It's how do you respond? It's like anything. You're going to fail. It's what do you do after you fail?
Well, they're having to do that far more than that defensive front is.
Yeah, well, where's all the money invested? That defensive front, you got Jeffrey Simmons, you got Danico Autry, you got Rashad Weaver, who's a high draft pick. You paid Arden Key. They better be darn good.
Yeah.
They've
all played together, other than Key coming in, who's fit in pretty seamless.
They don't have to relearn anything. You're not talking about. We're talking about 5 for all intents and purposes.
Harold, he's making a gajillion dollars.
Well, and Harold, Bowen today, you don't hear coaches glow typically about players getting back to a level pre-injury, but Harold told us he damn near has a perfect ACL, and apparently his coaching staff agrees with him. And his body, he looks to be completely functional.
Harold is as professional of a football player as there is on this team. He lives and breathes it. This is what he does. I bet they don't even go on vacation. I bet his wife is just like, Harold, can we go on vacation? No. No, I'm going to go run.
You think he's as stern with his family as he is with us?
If you guys want to go to Holland, go. I'm staying.
To Holland.
Odukoya, give him some
Thomas
Rex.
Odukoya.
Yeah.
He's planning out there.
Bring back some wood shoes.
Just don't go on Expedia. Yeah. Apparently, if you're talking to Will Compton. I hate that he's actually funny.
I saw the emergency press conference.
Unbelievable, this idiot. So anything else that you have taken away? The significance of Levis getting training camp reps with the twos. I think that people are going to conflate that too much with his success yesterday. It's not insignificant, but I think it's more of a slow burn that people are going to want to make it.
Look, the 3 throws he made consecutively yesterday were big league. They were big-time throws. They were thrown in very small windows with perfect touch and put where only the offensive guys could catch them. Those were throws where I went, okay, I get it. That doesn't mean he's there. All right, because as they pointed out over and over again, it's 1 days. You got to start stacking days, and that's the beauty of him having Tannehill here. He can just do that all year, and that's what you need. I believe me, I agree with Vrabel. There's glaring improvement for Malik, but that doesn't mean he's ready to be a starter in this league, and that doesn't mean he still doesn't hold on to the ball too long.
The padding. He's still padding the ball.
He's still staring guys down. Does it come out faster than it did a year ago? Yeah, but there were a lot of times last year where it didn't come out at all, so that's not hard to do. And I'm not here banging on Malik. There's a lot of people who want Malik to succeed.
Sure.
And I want Malik to succeed, but that doesn't affect my view of what he is doing out there and how prepared he is to be a starter at this point. I want them all to go to the Hall of Fame and make $1 billion. I do. But if you told me Malik needed to come out and start a game for this team, I still would not be going, okay, we're ready to rock and roll now.
Well, it's, and people will assign whatever value they want to in that sense. I was joking with our friend and colleague Teron Davenport the other day that we were laughing about last year on the radio show that Lucas and I were hosting down the stretch when Malik was having to start games.
Yeah.
And I was advocating for Dobbs to start. And then
You're right.
People were not receptive to that idea just because, Malik is a draft pick. People want to see Malik succeed. There's always going to be that rooting interest.
And there's other reasons people want Malik to succeed. Okay,
sure.
The school he went to.
Yeah.
There's a rooting interest for people in certain avenues to make that happen. He's a great athlete. we knew he had a long way to go, and they didn't do him any favors last year putting him out there before he was ready.
Correct. Both of those things can be so.
Yes, and like I said, that doesn't mean he can't be a successful quarterback in this league. It just means it's going to take some time.
At Corey Curtis 2 is where you can follow him. WKRN News 2 is where you can watch him. Sports Extra on Sunday nights about 10:30, 10:35.
10:35.
10:35.
TN Nation will be back for another year.
Yes, exciting stuff.
Maybe we'll have to get Buck involved this year.
Listen, you were the first person dumb enough to put me on television.
Yeah, he wore cowboy boots.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
My, again, the biggest contribution of that man to this particular city and football team is that sound drop right there. I would say to you, my sense of needing to dress up on TV is now a little better in year 7 than it was in year 1.
Well, I still am waiting for my 10%.
Yeah,
because I made you.
Yeah, listen, if I was handing out percentages, I would have none left for myself because I'm entirely made by the vast majority of people who've been fool enough to prop me up for this long, including this one next to me, but I'm never going to tell them that. 615-737-1045 is the number. Last call for phone calls. We'll update some polls coming up next. Back live from Titans training camp here on 104.5 The Zone. Buck Rising hanging out with you for 15 more minutes just about. Kirby is here. We're going to get his practice observations. In fact, I don't think we should wait any longer. People have been waiting through the entirety of the show today. 2 hours and 45 minutes of yammering between me and Lucas and everybody who sat down with us. They're just here for Kirby Allen Kirby's practice observations. Curb.
Well, I, being tasked with this job, I came up with 5 things that I've taken away from today's practice.
Oh, God.
All right? The intensity levels are picking up on the field. You like to see that with a little bit of scrimmages, a little bit of scrums going on out there. Not going to throw anybody under the bus by mentioning names.
Jamarco Jones.
The undrafted kicker, when the ball comes off that kid's foot.
Trey Wolf.
He's
a giant.
Makes a completely different noise than I have ever heard from a kicker in this facility.
Ever.
I mean, dude,
there have been some good kickers.
It's like hearing Tiger Woods hit a golf ball live versus anybody else in the PGA live. It makes a different sound coming off his foot.
Did you just compare Trey Wolf to Tiger Woods?
No, I'm just saying he makes contact with that ball.
First.
All right. The rookie quarterback is racking up a couple of consecutive practices where he didn't suck. We got most of Coach Vrabel's press conference on the air. I don't know the reason why we didn't get all of it. And the quote of the day is from our guest, Mike Chandler. And every group needs a Kirby.
So wait, we're doing this in sections. He's gonna watch a certain position group. He's gonna have a quote of the day.
I like this.
This is going to be. We're gonna do this for
Be
6
honest,
weeks.
That was the most informative 30 seconds of this the entire day's show.
Honestly,
I'm not kidding.
It was you hit the offensive line.
Yeah.
You hit the kicking
Kicker.
competition.
We hadn't talked much about the kickers. I mean,
Mike Chandler was on the show. A good recap.
Yeah.
I'd almost forgotten. It feels like there's been a million moving parts today.
It's almost like he's been doing this longer than we've been alive.
That sounds about right. Well done by Kirby. Polls, please. Oh, he wasn't ready.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. The polls have closed and the votes have been tallied. It's the segment where bias takes over and nuance goes to die. Now, here's your favorite Buck Rising Show correspondent, Lucas. Pan, make that poll Zika.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. Who is the most important player to the Titans' defense this season? Mo Jilton says Sean Murphy-Bunting, somebody's got to defend against the pass.
Wait. I mean, you do have Kevin Byard in your secondary, but I guess Sean Murphy-Bunting is a worthwhile nominee. I mean, there's a lot of important players on this defense. I think you can expect a big year. You can't predict health, but if they are relatively healthy, this group is again going to project very, very well against opposing offenses. That's how they're constructed.
Karen says it's Big Jeff. Christian says it's either Harold Landry or Christian Fulton.
Fulton is an interesting one, right? Just because they don't have a corner that's established themselves clearly and obviously as CB1. They don't have a lockdown corner, right? They've got a lockdown safety, but there's only so much that the safety can be involved with at any given point. Whether it's Fulton, McCreary, Murphy-Bunting has an opportunity here. I guess you include Elijah Molden in that mix, although it sounds like that transition to safety is becoming more of a permanent type of situation.
I think it's Arden Key.
Of any of those players?
I think Arden Key could lift this Titans defense more than almost anybody else. When you think about the equalizer that an elite pass rush can be in the NFL to help the secondary, how much better Harold Landry was with a healthy Bud Dupree opposite of him. How much more impactful he was. Like, we don't need to go through all the numbers now. We don't have time, but the numbers are all there to suggest that. If Arden Key can do that consistently, meaning staying healthy, especially with Landry coming back off of an ACL, I feel like that could lift this defense more than the play of almost any other player, singular player.
Look at that. Okay, an interesting submission.
Who's the biggest bleep talker on the Titans roster? Big Jeff, D-Hop, or Arden Key? 49% say it's Jeff. 36% say it's Key. 15% is D-Hop, who's done most of his trash talk on social media.
Yeah, he does seem to comport himself very professionally out here on the practice field. I'm excited to see him against other competition once we get to Minnesota and joint camps with the Patriots.
How would you evaluate the U.S. women's national team's performance so far in the Women's World Cup? Just barely sneaking into the knockout rounds. Mary Claire says they're connecting fine, but not finishing. That's surprising. Karen says abysmal. Flea says average at best.
Underwhelming. Relative to expectation, underwhelming.
Which are very high.
Very, very high. That they should be considered the favorites year in and year out. They're as dominant a team as we have for any of the national teams that we field. So, yes, the expectation is for the women to win the World Cup, but at this point it looks like as Mary Claire said, the opportunities that are there, they're not scoring.
Those are the polls.
All right, excellent. That's the show. We're back in studio tomorrow.
We are.
We will enjoy the AC, and we'll enjoy getting back into the swing of things. We'll talk a little Vols, though we will continue to talk about everything that's happening out here at Titans training camp. I would expect some transactions will be made on the off day, so worth paying attention to those as we get a little break in the practice week. But appreciate Kirby, Lucas, and Jackson, and everybody else who made the show possible. Go check out the podcast. Mike Chandler, Rashad Weaver, and Corey Curtis from WKRN News 2. That's the Buck Rising Show in your favorite podcast app. Talk to you tonight on Primetime.